In other news, South Korea has inked 6 memorandums of understanding with Canadian companies as part of its bid for the Canadian Patrol Submarine project.
South Korea has sent a high-level government delegation to Canada recently as part of efforts to support a bid to secure a major submarine project there.
Breaking tonight, Canada and South Korea made a quiet move, and Washington didn't see it coming. This wasn't announced with flags or speeches. There were no dramatic press conferences. But what just happened behind closed doors is now raising serious questions inside Washington, because for the first time in years, a major U.S. ally has stepped outside America's shadow, and Canada helped make it happen. For decades, the rule was simple. Big defense, big industry, big strategy, all flowed through the United States. Allies coordinated, partners aligned. And when major deals happened, Washington was either leading them or approving them. That pattern just cracked. It started with what looked like a routine Canadian defense requirement. New submarines, long-term planning, big numbers. Global suppliers lined up, including South Korea, one of America's closest partners in Asia, and a country deeply tied into U.S. military systems. From Washington's point of view, this was expected territory. Another deal inside the Western Alliance ecosystem. Nothing controversial, nothing disruptive. But Canada changed the question. Instead of asking who could deliver submarines fastest or cheapest, Ottawa asked something very different. Who is willing to stand with Canada economically, industrially, and strategically without routing everything through the United States? That question alone shifted the entire room. South Korea understood the signal immediately. Seoul has lived for decades under U.S. security protection, but also under U.S. constraints. Its defense industry is advanced, but often boxed in by American standards, approvals, and export rules. Opportunities exist, but independence is limited. Canada offered something rare, a chance to build, not just sell. What followed was not a defense discussion, it was a future discussion. Factories in Canada, technology sharing outside U.S. control, supply chains that don't run through American bottlenecks, long-term cooperation that doesn't require Washington's green light at every step. This is where the shock begins. Because while Canada and South Korea were quietly aligning, Washington was still assuming alignment meant oversight. That assumption no longer holds. From Canada's side, the motivation is clear. Ottawa has watched U.S. trade policy swing wildly in recent years. Tariffs one year, incentives the next. Pressure disguised as partnership. Canada learned a hard lesson. Depending too much on one market, even a friendly one, creates vulnerability. South Korea learned the same lesson in a different way. U.S. export controls, semiconductor restrictions, defense approval delays, strategic dependence that limits maneuvering room. The alliance protects, but it also constrains. So when Canada offered a path that reduced reliance without breaking alliances, South Korea moved fast. Not loudly, not publicly, but decisively. This wasn't about replacing the United States. That's important. This was about balance. And balance is exactly what Washington doesn't like to lose. Inside U.S. policy circles, this development raises uncomfortable questions. If Canada can structure deals that operate partially outside American oversight, what stops others from doing the same? If South Korea can deepen industrial cooperation without routing everything through U.S. systems, what does that mean for American leverage? This isn't theory anymore. It's precedent. Canada didn't challenge the U.S. directly. That's the smart part. It simply offered an alternative framework, one that respects alliances but doesn't surrender autonomy. And South Korea accepted. The result is a quiet shift in how power works inside the Western Bloc. Not a break, not a rebellion, but a redistribution. America still matters, immensely, but America is no longer the only doorway. For U.S. audiences, this is the real headline. Allies are not leaving, they are diversifying. And diversification means influence spreads thinner. Canada emerges here as something new, not a junior partner, not a middle power waiting for instructions, but a broker, a country that can connect advanced economies without Washington sitting at the head of the table. That role is dangerous and powerful, because once one successful model exists, others copy it. Europe is watching. Asia is watching. And yes, Washington is watching. This move also sends a message to American industry. If U.S. companies assume access to Canadian markets is automatic, that assumption is outdated. Canada is now attaching conditions: presence, investment, commitment, not just sales. The old system rewarded scale. The new system rewards alignment. South Korea aligned. The U.S. was not excluded, but it was not centered either. That's the shock. No sanctions, no arguments. Just a quiet recalibration. And this is why this story matters far beyond submarines or factories. It signals the early shape of a world where allies cooperate laterally, not just vertically through Washington. The U.S. remains the strongest player in the room. But it is no longer the only one setting the agenda. Canada didn't announce this shift, it demonstrated it. South Korea didn't demand it, it accepted it. And Washington is now left reacting, not leading, at least this time. That doesn't mean conflict is coming. It means competition is changing form. Influence is being negotiated, not assumed. And if this model works, if Canada gains industry, South Korea gains resilience, and both maintain alliance ties, then this quiet move could become a template that the United States did not design. And that is why this story is being watched so closely tonight. And it's not just policy circles paying attention. Business leaders, investors, and even military analysts across the globe are tracking every development, trying to understand what this quiet move really signals about the future of alliances. If Canada and South Korea can operate independently while maintaining U.S. ties, it opens doors for other countries to rethink how they engage with Washington.